Hey, this is Stephen Klein. I'm here with Robbie Bessner, the Chief Science Officer of Therasage, who's referred to as the Steve Jobs of infrared. He's been working with infrared frequencies for north of 20 years. You probably know of him from the Thera03 60 Plus infrared sauna, the best on the planet for detoxification. But Robbie has brought to the market a lot of other exciting technologies, and that's one of the ones we're going to talk about today, and that is the Thera03 Ozone module. What are the dangers or concerns or things you have to be on the lookout for if you're using what most people think of as ozone?
Well, I want to start by saying that ozone falls in this category of oxygen therapy. And why is oxygen therapy so powerful and so impactful in our physiology? So the efficacy, as you pointed out, is, across the spectrum of oxygen therapies and how it works with the body is amazing. One of the main reasons why we actually age is because we come under oxidative stress. Our body's ability to retain oxygen in our blood and eventually pass that to our tissues start to diminish as we get older. And so if you think about that and you've come up with a way to add more oxygen into your bloodstream, hence more to your tissues, you slow down the aging process. But today we're really talking about how oxygen therapy, and particularly ozone, can be used therapeutically to fight off bacteria, viruses, foreign invaders to the body. And the whole piece of ozone being harmful is an interesting one to address, because the FDA and other governmental agencies looked at ozone, looked at the potential of the possibilities of healing naturally using it, and basically decided that they wanted to regulate that part of the industry of oxygen therapy, and declared in 1976 that ozone therapy was harmful for the body. And it is true in some degree. When it's not implemented properly, there is some side effects that can be potentially damaging.
Yeah, so someone says to me, Stephen, I tell them about this and they go, that's great, except you cannot breathe ozone. It can really mess you up badly.
Okay,
so how is this? Yeah, so how is this safe and effective? And you can talk about breathing in through the skin in the infrared sauna when your head's out, or breathing it in through your mouth and respiratory system directly, both.
Okay. All right. So ozone, by definition, is 3 molecules of oxygen combined together. Ozone happens in nature naturally in the stratosphere, in our atmosphere, in the stratosphere. And basically that's what they call the ozone layer. And O3, as the true definition of what ozone is, when the reason why it's in our stratosphere and doesn't come through into our normal atmosphere is because it's not a very stable molecule. And once it penetrates into our atmosphere, because we have other gases that are mixed into our natural breathing air, it decouples the organic structure of an O3 molecule, frees up that extra oxygen, and now that oxygen is combining with other things. And that's where we run into the challenge of potentially it's combining with elements in our atmosphere that can become caustic to our bodies. Okay, so now dialing it back a little bit, and why what we're doing is different than what we call clinical grade ozone. In a clinical grade ozone setting, you have an oxygen concentrator, then you have a pure oxygen tank, and some kind of a regulating mechanism that you bring the oxygen flow from the air and the pure oxygen, and then the regulator you can actually dial in and moderate exactly the mixture and the concentration of pure oxygen into regular oxygen, so what comes out the other end of the tube or of the combination is ozone, but the concentration of oxygen will vary, and that's called gamma. And so in a clinical grade setting, you can dial up or dial down the gamma. which is the combination of the flow of natural air and the combination of the concentration of pure oxygen. Now, the higher the gamma, the more caustic that combination is to our skin and to the tissues in our lungs, which are called mucosa. And so it starts to break down the tissues. Now that's where it all comes from. And in fact, why the FDA has stepped in and said the average person on the street needs to be careful about how they use ozone. And for that reason, it has to be under the guidance of FDA regulation and also put into a clinical setting. So hopefully either in the clinic, the hospital, the health provider will give you the proper combination of that mixture that serves the symptoms or the intervention, the health intervention that practitioner feels is appropriate for your symptoms as you're presenting. Okay, so what we do that's different is, I'm kind of a specialist on light therapy, and
kind of.
in a humble way. And so we discovered that there's actually a certain light frequency that will fracture an oxygen molecule. And then what happens when it's fractured? So an oxygen molecule is O2, and now we're going to fracture that or split it in half, and now we're going to create two O1s that are going to resonate. They're unstable, and they're going to resonate and look to combine again. And so I did a little graphic that I'd like to show you now. What I'm trying to illustrate here is basically how our mechanism works. And how it works is pretty simple. So in the back of the unit, you charge underneath here. This side is for charging, and this side is for discharging. So you can use the lithium battery that's in here to recharge your phone if for some reason you're stuck and it's an emergency. So that's for outgoing power, and this one is to power the unit. In the front, when you hold down the second button, which is the ozone button, for about 5 seconds, you'll feel a little vibration. And you'll also see there's 4 lights that are indicating the battery life. So you can see when you're starting to use up battery and so forth. So in the back, there's a fan or a window that's actually, the fan inside the unit is sucking the O2 that's inside your room, cabin, sauna, hotel room, airplane space, car, bathroom, so forth. It brings the oxygen into the unit and it runs it over a special light bulb that we created that sits right here. And then as the O2 runs past the light bulb, the light is actually fracturing that O2 into O1s. And when it comes out the front, it's an unstable O1 that marries with the O2 that's outside here, creating an O3. And that's the most breathable format of ozone you can get because it's got the lowest amount of gamma, meaning the lowest amount of concentration of oxygen relative to the flow of the air that's coming out. So now you can create the same kind of low gamma in a clinical grade, but there what we're doing is we're stepping up the flow from the oxygen concentrator to be the highest amount of flow that's possible from the unit. And we're dialing down the oxygen that's pure oxygen that's feeding into that same regulator so that you have the highest flow, lowest oxygen, lowest gamma. And then there you're in a state where at least it's less caustic to your skin and less caustic to, of course, the linings of your bronchial tube and your lungs. We created a little better mousetrap. Was designed specifically for the sauna to actually improve the blood oxygenation. But when it's outside the sauna, well, even in the sauna, but outside, it'll kill all airborne bacteria and viruses. And really, that's part of today's discussion, because obviously we're living in a world that's generally toxic. But today we have a scare about this coronavirus. And what are the natural ways that we can build our immune system and also fight off these bacteria, foreign bacteria and foreign viruses? And clearly the the Thera03, the ozone device, ozone therapy, is one that will sterilize a room or help lower the concentration of these exogenous bacteria and viruses from getting into the body.
That's super exciting, Robbie. The fact, I mean, this is one of a kind. I mean, we have something here that you can't really find anywhere else. And that said, with everything that you discussed, is there any fear or concern with somebody that's either got a feeble respiratory system or COPD or anything to inhaling or being X amount of feet away from this thing to take what's coming out of it, into their system? Is there any concern for any population at all?
Yeah, of course there is. The very old and the very young, like 14-month-old, like infants type, you always have to be a little concerned. The infants, they can't articulate when it's not right for them. And the very old may have trouble doing the same thing. In general, I'm using this device somewhere between, if it's on my night table before I go to bed, it's somewhere around 12 to 18 inches away from my nose or my head.
Okay.
So you want to be able to smell it in your room, then it's working, of course. Okay. But you don't need to have it directly under your nose in order for you to get a maximum result. No,
you don't want to wear it. You don't want to wear it as a necklace.
I thought about that, but it's a little heavy to wear around your neck at this point. But so you have to use some common sense, and just so everybody out there, when they get a chance to see this, just keep it at a moderate distance, which could be anything from an arm's length or something like 18 to 20 inches away. And the overall, disclaimer here is that if you're coughing or it makes you sneeze, or if it does, for whatever reason, make you feel either nervous or makes it a little bit hard for you to breathe, don't use it, okay? The last thing that we're interested in doing is exacerbating an already existing breathing or bronchial breathing challenge, like COPD or many of the people that have challenges in general. Today's discussion is about how can we clean up our environment. And in the sauna setting, and actually there are other devices we're going to give you a little preview on one to come later on in our session today.
Crazy.
But the proper way, even in clinical ozone, to administrate that is by hydrolyzing it. So hydrolyzing just means mixing this ozone with water. Okay, O3 with H2O, right? H2O. So remember that extra O on the O3 is unstable. And so it's going to want to try to marry up with the H2O as well. But when you're in the sauna setting, why ozone is caustic to the skin itself is because if the ozone is not hydrated properly, then touch your skin. Now I'm discounting not this particular type of ozone, but the clinical grade. It will start to break down your skin tissues. Right. Now, if you take that same setting and you just bubble that ozone into a beaker that has water in it, hopefully structured water or filtered water, and then you bring the ozone at the top of the beaker that's now been mixed with water, when it touches your skin, it won't be caustic because it needs to be hydrolyzed. So in a sauna setting, as soon as you start to sweat and turn this thing on, your skin is now, because of the sweat, it's now been hydrated. And so even pure ozone in a hydrated skin environment would be fine.
Right.
When your skin is hydrated, it now becomes a breathing organ. And so we use the same situation or scenario to get toxins out as we do to get extra oxygen in the sauna setting. That's what our initial purpose was, and it's pretty effective.
For those of you that don't know about the Thera03 Plus infrared sauna, it is the best sauna, portable or otherwise, in the marketplace. You've got to take a look, and it's priced less than most people look at it and go, oh, since it doesn't cost much, it can't be that great. Wrong. So please get in touch with me or look out for the interview that I've already done with Robbie on that, but you've got to take a look at that sauna. The best way to detoxify yourself that there is, period. So that said, moving on. So Robbie, if you want to grab the unit again, we had talked about how it arrives and the best way to set it up as far as the charge to make sure you're going to get the best use of that lithium battery you speak on that just briefly?
Okay, so basically it should come half charged.
Right.
Okay, so because it's a lithium smart battery, the best thing to do is when you get it out of the box is to complete the charge. So get that 4 bars or 4 blue lights to charge up. Then when you use it for the first 2 or 3 times, let it exhaust all the power, just like you would do with your new cell phone, new smartphone. Let the battery drain all the way out, then charge it all the way up. So now we're teaching this lithium battery how to maximize the potential of the discharge of power. And so 2 or 3 times, exhaust, fully charge, and then you're good to go. You also can you can use the unit while it's plugged in and it's charging as well without ruining the battery life. Sometimes some other units, that'll be the fact if you just leave them plugged in, you actually don't let the battery discharge, and so it forgets how to do that in a funny way. Our unit you can use in both instances. Earlier, when I showed you, you hold the button in, the O3 button in for about 5 seconds. You can count to 5, but you'll feel a vibration in the unit. That's the fan turning on.
Yep.
If you notice the first button, it'll be green. If you click it a second time, it turns yellow. And now you've gone from a 30-minute timed treatment, so 30 minutes, then it times out and turns off automatically, to a 60-minute treatment, and then it times out. And
Beautiful.
so you can safely put it on your night table, set it for 30-minute or 60-minute session, go to bed, and it times out by itself, saves the battery life, and also is a prescribed or safe setting for a treatment time.
Yep.
So now there is another button on there that's marked ion.
I was getting ready to say, hey, bonus. We haven't even talked about this yet, but the other bonus, and the other button, and the other use of this, negative ion. So perfect segue, Robbie, if you want to get into that.
Okay. So negative ions occur in nature when running water moves over land, and so or through the atmosphere. The friction of that water moving frees up an electron. That's a charged particle, negative charged particle, which happens to be the same charge as the Earth. Most of us are positive charged. And so the ion charge or the ionic charge of these ions, when they combine with our body, they create better cell communication because now the cell is stabilized. Each of our cells, Stephen, are like little batteries. And because we don't touch the earth anymore, hug palm trees or oak trees, depending on where you live, walk barefoot, we don't really get the benefit or the full benefit of the charge of the earth and how that affects and stabilizes our body energetically. And so things like walking on the ocean, when that wave hits the sand, that's also freeing up an electron. When water comes over a waterfall, the friction on the water hitting the land, that frees up electrons. You may even know that, like, after a nice rain, and you go outside, you feel the air being heavy and almost charged, right? It feels really good to be around that. That's the friction of that water droplet coming through the cloud, coming through our atmosphere, freeing up an electron. That's what that is. And it stabilizes our own body balance, our own body battery. And so what we did was we combined negative ion therapy in the same unit. So if you clicked on the ion button, it's a blue. It turns the reading button blue, and it will discharge 20,000 times the negative ions that appear in air naturally, which is like a fast-moving river or a nice, healthy waterfall. And that will go on for approximately 4 hours. It doesn't use a lot of the battery, but it will time out after 4 hours, and it will fill the room in the area. And that's actually the one that I sleep with the most, is the negative ion, because it calms the body down. It gives you a sense of euphoria. I have better dreams. And of course, I'm balancing my body battery that way too. So it's an awesome little device, does a lot of things, and it's completely portable, and we don't leave home without it. I use this on the airplane now, and maybe my neighbors think I'm crazy, but I clean the air there. I take it in my hotel room. I live with a germaphobe, and so along with this and handy wipes, we managed to knock out most of the bacteria and viruses. And we can get into a little bit about why and how that works in a few minutes whenever you're ready to ask about it.
Sure. So yeah, because we'll talk about that. Real quickly, getting to the, we were talking about how to charge efficiently. You said for a full charge from being drained out to completely charged again is how long? An hour and a half? Is that what you had told me?
From a drain to a full charge is approximately an hour and a half.
Depending, give or take on the unit and what the charging is. Okay. And then let's just touch briefly on the Thera03 infrared sauna, or if someone has a different type of sauna and they want to get the benefits of breathing in O3 while they're detoxifying. I've noticed when we've been at events, you pretty much just place it on the floor of the cabin. Is there any best practice to either raise it higher or put it a certain spot? Does it matter where this goes?
I usually have it in the portable sauna, or even if it's a wooden sauna, it wouldn't matter. I just keep it on the floor, and I just have it generally in the front of our tent sauna, left or right corner, just so I don't kick it over, but it's there so it's able to take some of the air from the back of the unit or that's inside the cabin, and then create the O3 that we're doing. And truly you'll feel it, it'll fill that cabin up in minutes. This little unit generates 750 milligrams per cubic inch per hour. So it's for a small unit, it's pretty powerful. And within 2 or 3 minutes, the cabin starts to fill up, and then you go in. And if you're at all nervous that you don't sweat for the first 15 or 20 minutes of your sauna session, then just take a little spritzer bottle, either in the sauna or spritz your skin so that your skin becomes hydrated.
Right.
Yeah. And then now we've got that free exchange of allowing that detox pathway, getting toxins out, but also allowing your skin to breathe in the extra oxygen that that's in the tent. The other thing that, as long as we're on the topic, the Thera03, the Plus unit, has these specialized tri-light panels, and the near frequencies, that part of the spectrum, the Thera03 has always been full spectrum, but we dialed in the Plus unit a little bit more the near frequencies to answer oxidative stress that people have, natural production of nitric oxide, which is where I'm going right now, and also to support mitochondrial energy or cell energy by supporting mitochondrial activity. So these are the things that we're seeing in clinic now, and every day people are stressed, people have adrenal stress, people have oxidative stress, people have mitochondrial duress, and we're under siege. And so we've adjusted in the Plus with the tri-light system a way to make up for some of these deficiencies. Now, one of the key things that nitric oxide does, which is produced by the near frequencies, is it produces nitric oxide. So that's a transient gas. The body produces 3 transient gases. But what's cool about nitric oxide is that it improves microcirculation, so it's bringing more blood supply to your tissues in your body. And it also triggers your hemoglobin to grab more oxygen when you make it available. So a brilliant combination for any oxygen therapy is to have nitric oxide present, either through a supplement like Neo40. And we have a dear friendship with Dr. Nathan Bryan, who's probably one of the world's authorities on nitric oxide now. And so we produce it with oh, there we go, perfect. And the Neo40 is a supplement. So if you don't have the Thera03 to produce it, you can simply take this lozenger once or twice a day and get all the nitric oxide that you need. And then when you combine that nitric oxide supplement, or producing it by the near frequencies of the infrared sauna, with the extra oxygen that we produce with the Thera03, we're getting the maximum physiological event. We're doing what the body really meant to, how we're meant to be, and how we really are when we're very young. And we have active redox molecules. We have the very active production of nitric oxide. As we get older, we make less of both of those. And so this is a beautiful way for people over the age of 30 to start getting more oxygen into their blood, more oxygen circulating around the tissues. And then the last part, which is really where we should have started, has to do with viruses and bacteria, and parasites and fungus. All of those categories of microbes, they all are anaerobic. That means that they don't like oxygen. And so when we have a invasion of bacteria, virus far into our bodies, if we could have a higher level of oxygen in our blood, or start dosing with a supplement or combination of supplements that brings more oxygen into our bloodstream or our physiology, it's going to naturally build our immune systems, and it's going to lower the threshold or the penetration of many of these viruses. So that's really the key to today's discussion, because with these very simple devices, it's not a panacea by any means, Steve, but these are things, very inexpensive, easy ways for us to build our bodies, build our fields, build our immune systems, and make us sort of the strongest we can be to fight off the onslaught of the coronavirus or any of those viruses. And so if you do happen to get exposed, it may never turn into a symptom because your body is already ready to knock it out before it even starts, you know? And if you do start to get symptoms, they may not be as strong as some of the other of your friends that may not have taken the precautions to do simple things like this to try to build themselves up. So that's where we're going with this discussion today. It's like, what can we do today to make our bodies strong so that if in fact we do get exposed somehow, that we can get through the other end of the tunnel and it not affect us really, you know?
Beautiful. So the segue there into other, so what can we use this device for outside of the sauna? You can, you have it next to you when you sleep, either in the ozone or the negative ions, in your car. Now, any best practice in using it in your car as far as where you place it, where,
well,
that kind of thing?
Again, I just keep it in my, where I would keep my coffee cup or my water bottle in the
center
dash
console. Okay.
Yeah. Again, 12 to 18 inches away from your nose. The caveat being, and I'll repeat myself, if you start to cough or sneeze or get a reaction like your body's not happy with it, turn it off. You can always dose multiple times during the day. But a car is a small cabin. The sauna is a small cabin. The bigger the room, the more diluted that little device output will be. So if it's a small cabin, small room, bathroom, hotel room, so forth, then the ozone will fill up that room pretty quick. And the more obvious that you smell it, the more active the ozone is in the room to kill bacteria and viruses and so forth.
And then you can pop to the negative ion setting and boom, you're golden. The more of that, the more concentrated that, the better, because that's all just positive, healthy stuff, no matter how much the enclosure is.
You can run negative ions all day and all night.
Yep. Awesome. Any other thoughts on uses for, you said hotel room, car, next to your bed, bedside sleeping?
I keep it in the airplane. I take it in the airplane.
Airplane.
I know the guys next to me think it's crazy, but think about it. You're stuck in an airplane for an hour or so or more. And now what they're doing is recirculating that air. Someone in the back of the plane, like I was watching a coronavirus video yesterday, or viruses in general. And when you sneeze, you actually expel, it could be up to 40 to 50,000 viruses, little virus molecules, out into the air. That's just from one sneeze. Somebody in the back of the plane sneezes, it now comes forward. Obviously, if you're within 3 or 4 feet of that person, you're most likely to get exposed. But it's in the air recirculating into the environment, so everybody gets a little bit of it. So I have been traveling with my Thera03. I take it everywhere with me, but particularly in the plane, we have it on. And if my neighbors are upset about that, I explain that it's for my health and it's for their health too. And that's the long and the short of it.
Awesome. So yes, the whole plane application, that by itself is a reason for people to get this, because in that cabin, your chances of being exposed to something in an airplane, who knows what exponential percentage that goes up versus just walking around in your normal environment. Insane. And Robbie, you've got technical data on this for these biohacker friends that I've got and colleagues that want to dive deeper into this or find out more. You can make that available to me to get to them.
Oh yeah, you're the quarterback here, Stephen. So I will make available to you some of the white papers that we have developed internally, as well as the research and some of the things that we've gotten from PubMed and the various different other sources that you can get medical research on ozone. But it's not hard to get. You can just Google, oxygen therapy or ozone therapy, and there's a plethora of information talking about how it's used.
And if somebody wanted to become an affiliate for this, or if there's a practitioner that wanted to resell it, who would they get in touch with to take care of that?
You, of course, you're the guy,
Right.
But,
just want to remind everybody.
Yeah, I want to read one thing that I pulled out, and it's just part of a study that was done in '97. It says the data suggests that low levels of ozone, which is what we do in the Thera03, reduces airborne concentrations and inhibits the growth of biological organisms. And then it's somewhere between 10 and 20 times greater than what will happen just with natural air. So now this will decontaminate air, and it breaks down the regeneration, or this prevents the survival of certain airborne viruses and bacteria and organisms, which is what we've just discussed, but it's kind of said fairly succinctly here. So that was a study that was done in '97, and the earlier study was referenced in 1983. So the science on this has been around for quite a while. And, there's other forms of oxygen therapy like hyperbaric, and you can do ozone in other ways. Besides just this little portable Thera03, you can bubble the ozone.
Well, hold on that, Robbie, because before we get into our little bonus sneak peek deal that we're going to talk about, okay. This is we've kind of covered everything we want to cover about this. So I want to just, Robbie, I've never been or shown you my gratefulness for not only knowing you, but having you as a friend, but you've become a really, really close confidant. And I really value our friendship, but you're genius with what you do. I feel so privileged to know somebody that is at the absolute top of the game in a certain topic and multiple topics. It's mind bending to me. And the fact that like the day that I met you, when I had an epiphany that, for several years I had stopped wearing a watch because the time's perfect on a phone with smartphones. I wanted something to remind me to be present. And I had asked him, I don't know how many people. And I asked you whether you could make a watch that just says now on it. You scratch your head and like, what? I explain it. And then I get this in the mail 2 weeks later. So where's the now? It says one on one way. It says now the other. So anyway, I win either way, but this is one of my prized possessions, and it's a Rolex. And Robbie sent this to me two weeks after the day that I met him. So you're amazing. You're phenomenal. I really value and cherish our relationship and what you've come up with to help save people in the world. And knowing that as the environment gets more and more toxic and we have more and more challenges and adversities, you're there to help protect us from what may happen to us otherwise. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now that we've covered everything about the Thera03, you want to share a little bit, sneak peek about what's coming. Today, the filming of this is March. Well, I don't even say it, but we have something coming new that as soon as it comes out, we'll be doing another interview, Robbie, but I want you to share just a sneak peek of what's on the horizon with ozone, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, remember, part of our mantra is to try to bring these therapies, combine the therapies and together, stack them, so that we get a synergistic effect and one that is greater than any one therapy alone can do. So the ozone therapy is amazing, but when you combine that with sauna, wow, it's truly a wow, right? And so, traditionally, like when we were referring earlier to the clinical grade, you've got, two different tubes that are feeding one, a flow of air from the room, and the other is pure oxygen, and then it's regulated and it comes out one tube that's combined. And so that tube application that comes out on the combined side, once you dial up or dial down the gamma, then you can use it for different things. So there's different apparatuses that you can plug into that kind of clinical grade that allows you to do things like bubble it into a sink full of water, and you can wash your vegetables and kill any of the bacteria, clean off the pesticides and so forth that are in the foods that we're eating, and make it a healthier choice for us from a food source. You can take that same air stone that is like an air stone that you put a bubble that brings bubbles into a small little fish tank. Same thing. Now we're bubbling that ozone into your bath water. So now you can throw in some magnesium in your bath water, turn the temperature up a little bit, sit back, relax for 10 to 20 minutes, and also bubble ozone into your bath. And now, once again, remember, once your skin is hydrated, it creates a portal to allow this extra oxygen to get right through your skin, right into your bloodstream. So absent or other than your lungs, which is one of the most efficient ways to get oxygen into your bloodstream, your skin is the largest organ in your body. And if you turn that into a breathing organ, you've got all 12 cylinders working, and it's really the best natural event.
So, Robbie, before you go on for one, again, I want to mention people because with all the descriptions, all the benefits, this may seem like it might be $300, $250 or whatever. This is retailing now at $150 plus tax. Is that correct on the website?
Yes, and a small shipping charge, exactly.
And so can you show us this new device that you're talking about? You have that?
Yeah. We're planning on bringing this to market. We'll retail. It depends on the array of apparatuses that we put into the bundle, but we're thinking somewhere around $200 to $224, something like that. Okay, so this is more this unit, which I'm going to show you guys, is more aligned with what you would get in a clinical ozone setting. Right. So it has a hose that comes off of it, and then you can hook up all these different apparatuses. So different than the Thera03 that you really can't hook anything up to and is completely portable. This unit is less portable, designed mostly for home use or clinical use, where you can hook up a hose, hook up apparatuses, and it's plugging into a regular.
So you have to have both. You have to get both of these, not just one. That's the point.
Well, if you're traveling, yeah, that would be the way to go. So this is what the unit looks like, Steve.
Love it.
And it turns on and off here, and then you can dial up or dial down the concentration, and it gives you 5 different settings. It plugs in over here to a regular socket. And then you've got your hose, of course. And in this instance, or this application, we just have a little air stone at the end. So last night when I took a bath, I just turned it on, set it on the 3rd setting, and then I just let the stone sit inside my bath water, sat for 20 minutes. Within 3 or 4 minutes, you can already smell the ozone in the bathroom. So
what are those settings? What are the 5 settings on the front? They're for different things?
Oh, yeah, they say different things on it. The one that is has the least concentration of ozone says preserve freshness. So that would be to wash your fruits and vegetables. Okay. And then the next setting is kill bacteria. Okay, so now we're dialing up the concentration of more ozone. The 3rd setting is sterilizing. Okay, and then removing foul smells. So yeah, we didn't really talk about this, but it will take the odors out of a room. So you ever move into a new apartment or get a new car, if you're chemical sensitive, the formaldehydes that are used in the process of making the carpet is very toxic. And so if you're chemical sensitive, you could just put in one of these guys, or even use the little portable unit, and it will take that odor out of the new carpet smell or the new car smell. The next setting is, the last setting is to remove toxins and sterilize medical equipment. So, I mean, this goes from fairly, a fairly easy and benign setting, the first one, all the way up to a pretty strong setting. So this was one application, and again, $225. So this isn't really crazy expensive. But now this is another kind of apparatus. So in here, this would again hook up to that same device. So one hose goes into the apparatus, and then the ozone comes down through the top of the little beaker here. And then if you notice, there's an air stone on the bottom. We put filtered water in here. If it's got structured water, that's even better. But if it's filtered, that's just fine. And then now we're bubbling the ozone into this water, so we're hydrolyzing that ozone, which is what I mentioned earlier. You need to do so that it's not caustic to your skin or to your lungs when you breathe it. So now the other end, this is one of the devices. You probably don't know this, but I've got a small amount of periodontal challenges with my gums. And so I wanted one of the therapies that's really super great for killing the bacteria that live in the gum beds of your gums. So when you brush your teeth, you scrape your gums and you expose these bacteria, and they hide under what's called a biofilm. So what you do is you just hook this guy up, and then again, this is one of the apparatuses. So you've got something that kind of looks like a dental, the water pick type devices,
Yep.
but now we're just pumping out hydrolyzed O3, and I just move it up and around my gums like this, and I'm now basically killing all those bacteria that I expose. You can regulate the amount of airflow by this little valve here.
Mm-hmm.
And the other kinds of things you can do is hook this same situation up to a little air hose that feeds into a shower head, so when you shower, you can bring ozone into that shower water.
Wow.
There's another application we're looking at that looks like a stethoscope, so you can bring the ozone into your ears, which is another canal. So when the bacteria when they escape from here, they like to go up. They run away. So they run up into your sinuses, or they run up into your ear canals. And so using oxygen therapy prophylactically in all these spots is an amazing way, ozone therapy, to take care of all that. And it should. We're talking about minutes, Stephen. It's not hours of therapy. So this is
wow. So will you have the apparatuses? Will they be optional, or will they come with will all the apparatuses come with the unit? What are you thinking?
No, I think we're going to have them all, because we really want
Beautiful.
the consumer to have, these aren't expensive applications, and it's much easier for us to put it all together in a bundle. And
Yep.
This way the family can have it for all these different uses without having to run around.
So you'll have multiple of those tips in case somebody wants to put one, because you get anal benefit. If you do it prophylactically or whatever, you get benefits of that also. So I'd imagine you have more than one tip going out.
Yeah, yep. So you can do vaginal or anal insufflation. So these are therapies that are already being utilized by ozone therapists. So This isn't new, Stephen. This is amazing to do. And you can actually take that same tip and fill up like a balloon or a bag, and then seal the bag underneath. And then you can kind of open the bag and just take in oxygen therapy little by little. So there's lots of different applications for this.
Incredible. Well, Robbie, is there anything else that you want to add? This has been incredible for me because I didn't know that much about ozone, even though I've been using the Thera03. One other use I do for this, Robbie, since you mentioned it with, I forgot what you were talking about, but when I take my garbage out, I put this in the base. When I go to, take it out, I put this in the base of the garbage can and let it run 30 minutes before I put the bag in when I come back inside.
All right.
So, because all that smell goes away that was there before, and I don't let anything leak in there or whatever. So it's clean and dry. So I don't have that issue of worrying about getting this wet, but that's another use that I've had for it. That's been great.
For odors, for disinfecting, for killing airborne bacteria and viruses, it's probably the best and the least expensive application to use.
Awesome. Well, I'm crazy excited about this, what you have coming, everything. So, as scary as some people are getting about coronavirus, I know that my immune system is strong. I'm protected. I know what to do in case I do contract something. So I look forward to sharing this with as many people as we can, Robbie. And thanks again for making this available to everybody. And I'll be speaking with you really soon. And I'm looking forward to the interview with the new device that you created, and looking forward to that coming out as well. Anything else to add, or are we good to go?
Well, I want to finish with just an overall statement about this coronavirus. It's very troublesome, and certainly nothing to be to turn your head to. The people that are, or the age groups that are the most at risk, or the demographics that are the most at risk, are the very young or the very old, or the chronically challenged individuals that have other mitigating health challenges, particularly if they're breathing health challenges like bronchitis or COPD or any of those types of things, coming in contact with any virus is going to be a challenge. But the coronavirus in particular, because we don't know, we know a lot about it, but we just don't know enough about its lifespan, the cycles and so forth, and the potential of what we need to do if we do come in contact with it. You really need to be smart about this. And so take extra care, particularly with your children or your loved ones, your parents and your adult community. Try as hard as it may be to keep your distance, social distances. They're calling it desocialization mostly. Just stay a good healthy distance away from people now, because no one's wearing a sign that says they're infected with the coronavirus, Stephen. It's just another one of those silent killers, just like we've had an interview and talked about electromagnetic fields. It's the same way. So you just have to know it's out there and take precaution. But what I do feel is coming from this whole dilemma and problem that we're having now is an acute awareness of the public to understand how toxic the environment is, and potentially the easy and inexpensive remedies that we can do to build our own natural immune systems, which is really the best defense against any of this. And that's why, people, the demographic that's, let's say, over 18 and younger than 60, if you look at the statistics, they're the least likely to have anything but other than a mild, like flu type symptom
Right.
for this. Okay. And that's because, generally speaking, that's the healthiest age groups. Their immune systems are the strongest. So if you're one that has a compromised immune system, then you're at risk, whether you're young or you're old. But really the bigger story is, what can we do after we get through this crisis to maintain a optimal health and support our immune systems so that we can, live out our dreams? And really, I'm sad that we have a dilemma or a crisis like the coronavirus to bring our attention to this matter. But I'm happy that at least now people might be actually focusing on this and taking home, not just for today, but to instill in their kids for future generations that the most important thing to maintain optimal health is to detoxify, is to do things that will build up our immune system.
Well, thanks for that, Robbie. That's a really, really, really important message. I know that you're always thinking about everybody else more than yourself most of the time. So thank you. So thank you, everybody, for joining in and watching about the Thera03 and what's to come. And we'll have more stuff for you in the near future.
Stephen, as usual, take care. Thank you.